Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. This is your host, Brother Sean Brumfield, and we're accompanied today with Brother Ryan Brown.
Hello.
Brother Jonathan Mitchell.
How's it going, everybody?
And guys, we have an update on this golden toilet thing.
I'm so excited. I actually think I'm going to be disappointed.
This has been a while back when we read this. It was like one of the first news stories we read, wasn't it?
Yes, I want to say, I don't know.
I think it was the first news story.
Yeah, I think it was because it was hilarious.
Kind of what kicked this whole thing off.
Everybody loved that story. So this is hilarious. This was updated on May 19th. And so here's how it is. A man who tried to help a burglar cash in from the theft of a golden toilet valued at 4.7 million pounds, or for us Americans, 6.4 million, was spared jail on Monday after a British judge said he had been taken advantage of by the thieves. Frederick Doe, 37. So I don't know if that's a reference to John Doe or what. Or
that doesn't sound like that doesn't sound like a real name.
No. So
I don't know. It kind of sounds like a British name.
So do you think there's a John Doe running around in Britain?
Yeah. Sure, there's a Jane Doe too.
There might be. I don't know. It just sounds like we can't call him a John Doe because he's not dead, so we'll call him Frederick.
That's true.
I just feel like that's way more complicated than I think it's an actual name.
So Frederick Doe, 37, also known as Frederick Signs, so there you go, there's his real name, was given a suspended sentence at Oxford Crown Court for his role in helping to sell the 18-karat gold fully functioning toilet, which was taken in 2019 from Blenheim Palace, the country mansion where British wartime leader Winston Churchill was born. This is a quote from Judge Ian Pringle. He said, "Those responsible for this audacious heist, 5 individuals could be seen on CCTV, were clearly intent on disposing of their ill-gotten gains quickly." And he told him directly, "You foolishly agreed to assist." The toilet, which we've already said, it was a satirical art titled America by Italian conceptual artist Maurizio Catalian, whose work of a banana duct tape to a wall was sold in 2024 for $6.2 million at auction in New York.
That's going to have to be something else I'll look up. Banana duct tape to a wall.
I'm very upset.
So it doesn't say how he was
involved,
how he was tricked. Well, he was involved. It sounds like he was involved helping them get rid of the evidence that they took the golden toilet. In other words, help sell the golden toilet.
I think whoever's involved with the destruction of this golden toilet, they need to be put in jail and they need to throw away the key. They need a life sentence for destroying a masterpiece like a golden toilet.
He says this because his butt has not touched gold.
They're all despicable human beings, and I believe they all should be in jail for the rest of their lives.
I don't understand. Like,
I think he was in relations with or around somebody who was.
Did he like hold the door open?
No, I think he gave them access to the mansion, is what I was reading in another portion.
Okay.
Another porcelain of the article.
That's hilarious. So he doesn't get any jail time.
So wait, they took the toilet in 2019 is what?
Yeah.
Is what?
Yeah, this has been going on for a while.
Yeah, it's 2019.
So this is 6 years in the making.
Yes.
Yeah.
So was he in jail the entire 6 years?
It doesn't say.
It doesn't tell me.
Because maybe the part of the reason why he got released is they just were like, all right, you've time served is good enough.
You've served for the, what was it? In here. Hold on.
Okay, so can I be honest though? Well, yeah. See, I can't help it. I really can't.
You stopped in your tracks on that one.
Well, no. So
I can see the cogs turning in his head.
If we were on video right now, you would quite literally have seen the smoke as he was getting ready to ask if he could be honest.
Well, no. So they said that they saw them on CCTV, but the reason why I'd stopped is because initially I was like, that's kind of inappropriate to have a camera in a toilet or in a bathroom.
Is the hallways.
But then that's what I was like. They probably saw him carrying it.
Not only.
Well, didn't they go through the window? They took it through the window. They said
that they threw it away, didn't they?
No,
because they couldn't actually cash it in.
So what they did was they broke into the mansion, and they ripped the toilet off of the floor. They didn't shut the water off or anything. They flooded the bathroom. There was like over an inch or whatever they said of water in the bathroom. Then they took the toilet and they threw it out the window of said bathroom, and they drove off in a truck with the toilet in the back of the truck, and then they broke it down. In fact, they said that they've never seen any more of that golden toilet because they believe that it has been since broken down and distributed for its worth in those small pieces. So the CCTV stuff would be knowing who went into the bathroom and seeing the truck leave the premises with the golden toilet in it.
Yeah, that would be that's
not only is it inappropriate to have a camera in the bathroom, but it's also highly illegal.
Well, we don't know that about the UK.
That is true, but
It's
I would say
country.
that it's probably still highly illegal.
Yeah. That was the thing. So that's why you seen me pause and the smoke start pouring out, because my brain connected the dots. It's like, oh, they probably seen them in the house and then outside the property, not directly in the bathroom. But yeah, that still doesn't change the fact anybody involved stealing that golden toilet, they need to be in jail forever, because how dare they destroy such a beautiful piece of art for profit.
This guy done a horrible job at hiding his name. If his name is Frederick,
No.
and his last name is Signs, and he says, I don't want people to know what my true name is, so we're going to go Frederick Doe.
And like, it's spelled exactly the same.
And the news article says, also known as. I wonder which one's his real name. Is his alias Frederick Doe, or is his alias Frederick Signs?
I would say
Whoever it is, I want to find him and send him a very
I would
strongly worded
say
email.
Frederick Doe is his alias, also known as
Tater salad.
Frederick Signs.
So there hasn't been any update on the people that actually stole the toilet, though.
Well, they're in prison, hopefully, because
No, actually, they were hung.
from their toes.
They were tortured, melted gold. They were cast in metal gold.
That would be painful.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even want that for them. I just want them to be in jail forever.
I just want them to have to stand to use the toilet. I don't want them to sit on any toilet ever in their life.
That should be their punishment.
Yeah.
Everything they do, they have to stand.
They can't even crouch.
Okay, so on a whole nother topic here that this kind of stems off of this episode.
I'm so scared to see where it's going.
I'm not scared at all. I'm excited.
How, and I get art, but how in the world can you make millions of dollars off of art pieces like banana duct tape to a wall? How can people look at that and say that is expressionist art?
I just seen where a painting. All it was like blue and then yellow. There was no writing.
Ukraine.
Nothing. Well, it wasn't even exactly like Ukraine. It was like,
because Ukraine's yellow and blue, right?
so I mean,
You would
like,
think I would know that at this point. How many Ukrainian flags I see everywhere.
but that painting went for like $5 million. And it's like, there's no dimension to this. There's no feeling to this. It just proves that you give somebody money and they will spend it on whatever people say is expensive.
Have you ever seen those, like you can see it on YouTube or something, where people are watching these expressionists? They express themselves through their art. One of them was like this dude piled up open buckets of dirt. They were like stacked on top of each other, like 10 high or whatever. And he kind of knocked the bottom one loose and they just toppled over and spilt the dirt. And that was like, everybody was clapping and applauding because it was just an amazing piece of an expression,
Abstract.
But how much did you say that was?
This one was,
I know the toilet.
$6.4 million.
$6.4 million for
The toilet.
no.
Yeah, that's the point. The toilet. So
But the banana
duct
tape to a wall is 6.2.
So not all that different.
So I think
And that banana, if it's a real banana,
it's going to stink eventually.
It's called active decay. My life is decay. No, I'm just kidding. What's the name?
There you go. That's how it's sold.
and-
For somebody saw that banana and thought,
Somebody at an art museum took a glass of water and sat it down and left it for 5 minutes. And all the crowd gathered around this thinking that it was some great, crazy piece to the museum. And the guy just walks up, takes his glasses, drinks it, and starts walking off. And these guys are like, you can't do that with an exhibit. And he's like, this is my cup. It's my water.
And I mean, no offense to artists out there.
I'm
I get
about
it.
to be an artist.
To be in the artistic world, you have to. Your brain works a little bit differently. I understand that. I get that. But like, who in the world would hang a banana duct tape to your wall and spend $6.2 million?
Okay,
on
so
it?
listen.
I don't even understand the whole like
the person
whole,
that made it is artistic, and the person
More like
that bought
autistic.
and the person that bought it is autistic.
No. I mean, look, here's the deal. I don't even understand the draw to like something as famous as the Mona Lisa.
What is the significance of that painting?
I don't know.
Da Vinci. It's the only significance of it.
Now, I will say, you go to like certain architectures and stuff. I would like to see the painting on the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah,
in real life. Like
the
that was
ceiling.
if you ever go to Washington D.C. and you're able to go into the Library of Congress and you just look at everything that's inside of that, it's just absolutely amazing. So I'm not against art in all of that, but
Absolutely.
like certain
A purpose
like-
behind it.
like
I'm fine
if you
with it.
take paint and you just splatter it on a board, I'm not going to pay you $5 for that painting.
All I can say is Jonathan's going to get started in this art thing, and he's going to go steal an apron from the Waffle House, and he's going to mount it to a canvas and draw a giant circle with a line through it and call it My Hatred.
Just rage.
No, just My Hatred. That's like the title of the whole
So
thing.
I think just to kind of the paint splatter stuff, right? Like you were just talking about. I think I could find not the crazy amount of money that people, but I could find value in that more so than I could like banana duct tape to a duck, because you do that
Where'd you get a
duct tape to a wall.
Okay, that whatever.
I'd go and see a banana duct
Hey,
tape
I
to a
think
duck.
I would see that one too. That
So-
one, how in the world did you catch that duck to duct tape that banana to him? That's going to be my
You see
question.
a duck doing circles trying to get the banana.
Like it's chasing itself, like a dog chasing itself.
Yeah, yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is like that paint splatter, to get that to replicate, right? Like to duplicate a paint splatter, it will never be the same. You'll get a different result every time. So there is a uniqueness to that I could see, not for somebody to pay like millions of dollars. I think that's dumb. But like I could see the uniqueness of like paint splatter art, because you'll never get the same. It's like a snowflake. You never see the same type of snowflake twice.
That's the
Yeah,
same as my kids coloring on the wall. It's unique. It's never the same color
Exactly.
over again.
I get it.
Yeah, but it'd be like a $20 paint
Spaint.
paint.
Man, you're having a rough
splatter.
day today, dude.
Paint splatter.
Get you an energy drink or something, man. You were slurring all over the place.
You know.
It's from all the times you guys make fun of me.
I don't really make fun of how you
No,
talk
I do
that
though.
much.
I definitely do. That's my fault.
God is striking him.
Now, have you
Hey,
seen-
look, I wasn't like the prophet that prayed for a she-bear. I just said, let him have a taste of what I go through every day.
Let him see what the content,
Spaint platters.
Have you
the
guys,
contents of my mind. Let him be in it.
have you seen this Christian artist that is like says she paints under the anointing of the Holy Ghost?
No.
She like puts this stuff on like Instagram and like makes it all this cinematic. So like in the background you hear that song, leave me where trust is without borders, you know.
Let me walk upon the water.
Yeah, let me walk upon
Is
the
that
water.
Lecrae and Tori Kelly? I think.
I don't know. I don't know
I think
who-
is the Christian artist. I think.
I don't know who it is, but they're like, she's like doing this painting and like it's like slow motion cinematic, like lighting and all this stuff. And you can just see her like wistfully move that paintbrush around like it's like something's moving her, and you're like, come on, you're just an actor. Like
What can be productive with the Spirit of God via a painting? I guess I don't know though. We've talked about like
I can think of one.
well, yeah, like the crucifixion. Like
No, I'm thinking like, you know, when the hand comes out on the wall and it says you've been measured and you've been found wanting.
I could. I
guess you could be anointed painting a spiritual picture.
No, I'm thinking about like Daniel, like when he's like comes in to read that interpretation is what
Yeah,
I'm
but
talking
he wasn't
about.
the one painting the painting.
I know,
He
that's
was,
what I'm saying.
he
That's
was
the only
interpreting.
thing that would be a painting inspired by the Spirit, right? Technically.
Well, I think there's a painting done by Rembrandt. I think I heard Chad McDonald use this in a sermon, so I could be getting it wrong. But Rembrandt was painting a picture of Golgotha in the crucifixion, and he said he became under conviction and he painted his face in the crowd, because if you're not saved, or you were in, or even before even if you are saved, before you were saved, you were in that crowd basically crying crucify, because that's the reason why he's up there. So I can see like spiritual connotations of like somebody painting and then something happens if you're painting something spiritual and stuff like that. So,
well, I think it's not that far fetched, because they used to have those paintings in Bible bookstores. Well, my mom would kill me if she ever heard this episode and I didn't remember who the name of the painter was. It was like
Thomas Kincaid.
Yeah, Thomas Kincaid. Yeah. Or all those, and like people spend like $300 or $400 on those paintings. And you're like, it's a shed, and there's a little pond in the backside.
Hey, don't make fun of Thomas. My grandma had a bunch of Thomas Kincaid pictures.
He was an alcoholic.
Yeah, he was still a good painter.
Yeah, but I mean, who knows? But I mean, like,
maybe I should be an artist. Like I said, maybe that'll be my new career.
I think it's so funny. Our opinions of this stuff kind of leads us to our word of the day. Word of the day.
Word of the day.
So the word I have today is gubbins.
Gubbins?
Gubbins.
That sounds like something they would use in the Elf movie. Like what was it? What is that? You're a nilly-headed lemon nuggets or something like that.
Muggin?
Yeah, that one.
A cotton-headed ninny muggin. It actually thinks, I think it actually makes me, what was the word that we had with the stomach issues?
Collywobbles.
I think gubbins sounds like another thing that would be upset with my.
I don't know.
My stomach's giving me the gubbins.
So what do they call? What do they call your fingers if you cut like
nubbins?
Yeah, they call it nubbins. So maybe gubbins is your toes. Like if you lose a toe, that's your gubbin.
Oh,
you got your gubbins and your nubbins,
Oh Lord!
And then you get your kermuppins or kermuppets.
Your kermuppets.
Yeah. But I was trying to be cute.
So it actually refers to.
Sorry, I had to open up my Coke.
It refers to something that is seen as rubbish or useless.
So the word itself means exactly what it is. It's useless.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It's something that is seen as rubbish or useless.
No, that's hilarious.
Like the artwork that we've been talking about. It's gubbins.
Like banana duct tape to a wall.
To a duck.
That would be cool. And by the way, you wouldn't even need to catch a duck. Just go get like a ceramic duck and stick it on there.
Are you cheating out of this?
Hey man, it's abstract art.
I still think the little toe things is better.
You make it sound like toe rings. Gubbins is toe rings.
Instead of nubs, you got gubs.
Oh man, that is hilarious.
That's gubbins.
Those are his gubbins. Poor guy. How'd you get those gubbins, Grandpa?
I had a saw fall on me. I was cutting a log in the backyard, and the saw went through. And
I was mowing the grass the other day, and my foot went too far, and whoop, I got gubbins.
Oh, rubbish or useless?
Rubbish or useless.
Like a lot of the things that come out of my mouth.
I don't know that I've ever called anything rubbish. Which is an actual common word. I've heard
it's
people,
mostly in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, but
we're really focused on Great Britain.
I've used useless before. I've used that makes no sense, which is the same as being useless. It has no point, which is the same as being useless.
Well, I think we have phrases. They have
words,
vernacular.
That is true.
Yeah, hearing a British person speak English, like it sounds eloquent, it sounds fancy. And then you hear, everything that we've made has been slang, and it just sounds dumber.
Well, like they say stuff that like blows my mind for the circumstances that's going on. Like a comedian was talking one time, and he's like, I went on a cruise with these English people, and they were telling us a stage 5 hurricane was coming through, and we were going to, be in trouble. We need to get to the bottom of the. And he goes, "All you hear in the background is a British person go, splendid."
Well, even like
what?
Well, you know what they call a bathroom, right? They call it the toilet.
loo.
No, they call it the toilet. They'll be like, "I got to go to the toilet." That's
the British.
Yes.
No, I've heard them say more so loo.
I've heard them say toilet. I've heard them say
latrine.
Loo. I've heard them say toilet. I got to go to the toilet. I watch a lot of YouTube shorts, and a lot of them are British, and a lot of them say toilet.
Or they like they say garage. They don't say garage.
Yeah. What is it? I think the bin. They don't call it like a trash can. They call it the bin.
Call it bin. Yeah.
What other things?
Like chips is fries.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard the chips.
Fish and chips.
If you go to other places, like Australia, it's bobby shrimp on the bobby.
So let me ask you a question. Since we're talking about Great Britain, would you do beans on toast? Because that's a breakfast thing for them. They do like baked beans on toast.
I've had beans on toast at a barbecue, but I would not eat it for breakfast.
They do like tomato. They slice like a traditional Great Britain like English breakfast is like sausage, like sliced tomatoes, eggs, and beans on toast.
I would do beans on toast.
That just sounds. I don't know. That sounds weird.
It sounds no different. It sounds no different to me than avocado toast.
That sounds terrible.
That sounds too healthy for me.
But it just sounds nasty to me.
I like fat. I don't like good fat.
Fat's fat.
I like fatty
stuff.
Fat
is not fat. Not all fats are fat.
There are some good fats. I just don't eat any of those good fats.
Avocado? Nope. Tastes like dirty water.
I can't even.
Avocado tastes like dirty water. Yeah, if you eat it without any
guacamole? Nah.
It looks like
guacamole doesn't taste like dirty water.
Well, can I tell guacamole
tastes like dirty
looks
water
like
with onions in it.
Guacamole
what kind of
looks
boogers
like
are you blowing out of your nose?
It looks
dude?
like boogers. It looks like runny boogers.
He said,
I have a
they
feeling
look like boogers in the springtime.
I have a feeling that people's going to listen to this and say this whole conversation is gubbins.
There's a person in the United Kingdom.
Was it really that bad if they intentionally use the word that we teach them?
Look, it may be useless.
We're giving you a reason to use the word of the day that we give you.
Some guy in the United Kingdom's like, this is rubbish.
Gubbins.
Gubbins sounds like a United Kingdom word. That sounds like something they would say.
Yeah, but it sounds more like Mr. Gubbins.
Hello, Governor.
Governor's Gubbins. Governor Gubbins.
That's what it's alliterated.
Oh man. That's funny.
That is great. Like I get the funny thing is like these words like that we're using for word of the day and like they have practical definitions, but we just use so many other words. That just goes to show that English is kind of stupid because it's like, why are there so many different words for the meaning the same thing? I think that's interesting to me.
If you talk to, I've always been told, I haven't really ever asked anybody, but a lot of people say that our language, our version of the English language is one of the most difficult languages to learn if you're a dual language individual.
Dual linguist.
Because we have so many slang terms and so many slang words and so many phrases. And it's different. Like for example, you can get 3 people in a room and they can all 3 call pop different. It could be soda, it can be pop, and everything can be Coke.
Or cola.
Yeah, or cola.
Or soda pop. People use soda pop. I call it pop.
Sodies.
I think we've had this discussion. I call it pop.
I don't think we've ever had this discussion.
Yeah. I don't know if we have or not, but I call it pop.
I've always called it pop too.
I call it pop.
But like you've got your phrases in the South.
Well, that's what I was about to say.
You've got your phrases in the North.
Well, the South call it mostly Coke.
Yeah, that's
Coke
the thing.
And then like you get midway, it turns into soda.
Yeah.
Or soda pop.
West is a lot of soda. The West uses a lot of soda, I think, from what I understand. But like, it's so interesting because that was another thing you kind of touched on it. Like, you get somebody from a foreign country and then they come here, and wherever they land up, and if they move to somewhere else in the country, they can get a different version of English. Like how the slang terms used in California will be different. Now the internet's kind of morphed it a little bit more together, where slang stuff is a little bit more, but you can still get different dialects and different.
Well, what if you just took the slang words that you did from when you were a teenager? Like that's bad. Oh, that's good. That's awesome. It's like,
oh, that's so sick. It's just that's so sick.
Oh, are you kidding? And so the thing about that is now is like all that stuff is changing.
Yeah,
over time.
It's not
now
consistent.
It's lit.
Yeah,
everything.
I don't even know if lit is still the term they use now.
That's what I use. Maybe I'm old.
Well, you are getting old.
Yeah, every day.
My kids come in and they say things all the time.
You know what that suggests to me is him trying to be closer to the young people because that was after my time. lit in fire.
That's like me coming in and saying, "Hey, yo, chillax, bro."
That felt awkward all the way through. As I looked at you saying that felt awkward all the way through.
Please forgive my retarded friend here. He's gotten to the country.
We just chillaxing.
What y'all didn't see is that he took his ball cap and he did a 90 degrees
Oh,
with
yeah,
it.
you got to turn it sideways.
He looked like he should be coming in with baggy jorts and like you should have South Pole all over you.
Hey, man. You know,
Some FUBU.
Hammer pants wasn't too far out of my time. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know what's
Like,
crazy? Some of the styles from like the 70s and 80s are coming back.
Yeah.
Like it's
mullets.
Yeah.
That should never be a thing.
No.
And mustaches.
I must ask you a question.
Mullets and mustaches should never be a style.
Let me mull it over for a moment.
I'm sorry. I know they're becoming popular, and I probably offended some of our listeners, but mullets and mustaches, they're just...
How many mullets did you see at PFYC this year?
Dude, you see it all the time.
Too many to be proud of, I'll tell you that.
Or those inverted mohawks or whatever they're called, faux hawks or whatever. Seeing a lot of those where they just shave the whole side of their head. Have that, yeah.
You had the Bieber
my
hair for a
hairstyle
while.
won't let me do that. I'll have to shave the middle of my head and keep everything down because
Hold on.
I'm losing the...
Call back to last week here.
Oh my god!
I tell people I can have two different hairstyles and nobody would ever know.
What if you did a mohawk but it was sideways and it went from ear to ear, like come in looking like a Mayan king? You know, you got this big old
like an Egyptian,
It's
like an Egyptian crowned head.
preacher. You're just nodding your head, like fan him off to cool him down a little bit. You know,
It's like those church moms in an African American church that are fanning. You can just use your hair to fan them.
six
hilarious.
gallons of gel in your hair so it stands straight up.
I hate.
We're going to start seeing mutton chops again.
I think I'm guilty sometimes. Some days they come down to
those Elvis sideburns.
It's just weird how style kind of comes back and people,
As they say, things have a way of repeating themselves.
yeah.
You know, the Chuck Taylor Converse shoes were extremely popular back in my dad's day, and back in the early 2000s, I think 2004, whatever. They become extremely popular again.
Well, and they've stayed popular.
They've stayed popular. Yeah. Or if not Chuck Taylor's, other shoes have made a version of those, you know, to kind of have that same look. It comes back. I will tell you, if they bring back bell bottoms, we're in trouble.
You checking out?
If bell bottoms come back, I'm gonna start wearing checkers with stripes.
You know, I never had any. I never had any
with a plaid tie.
With a plaid tie. We're just going to go all out on this bad boy.
I never had any Chuck Taylors, but I had some imitation Faded Glory.
I had fake Sperry's.
Faded Glory Walmart.
Faded Glory, yeah.
Or is that Arizona?
No, I'm pretty sure it's Walmart. It's
I had fake Sperry's.
What is imitation Faded Glory?
No. Imitated
great value.
Imitated like Chuck Berry's, but they were Faded Glory.
Oh, they were okay. All
Chuck
right.
Berry's.
Yeah. Chuck Taylor's.
Did I say Chuck Berry?
You did say Chuck Berry.
I got one of them guitars too. No, I was kidding.
I'm so confused.
Chuck Taylor. I'm sorry.
I'm so confused.
Yeah, me too.
Man, there's a lot of ADD in this episode. This is definitely a Gubbins episode.
Yeah.
We've stayed pretty on topic, kind of. Not really.
No, we haven't.
No,
not at all.
Really.
Not at all. How about we try to bring something into this episode here? So I found this news story that I thought was pretty funny. And when I say pretty funny, it's, you know, a person had to have rescuing. So you're going to think, man, that's kind of morbid. But here's how the story goes. In Tokyo, Japan, a mountain climber starts to climb up Japan's Mount Fuji. Okay. And while he is there, he gets altitude sickness from near the peak of the mountain. So he couldn't rescue himself. He couldn't get down off the mountain. He had altitude sickness, so he had to call for help. And he gets air flighted off. They couldn't march up there and save him in time. So they had to call a helicopter. A helicopter had to come. They had to rescue the guy. And so he gets helicoptered, airlifted off the mountain. And they take him to the hospital, and he gets taken care of and all of that stuff. He gets out of the hospital, out of being taken care of. 4 days later, he goes back up to the near peak of Mount Fuji and has to get airlifted off of there again.
Wow.
4 days later, he climbs back up where he got airsick, or he got the altitude sickness, and he had to be lifted off again. And so the story tells us the reason why he went back up and climbed back up Mount Fuji is because he couldn't find his cell phone. There was, I guess, a few certain personal belongings that he went to go find where he was at. And it doesn't say that he retrieved his belongings. He gets up there and has to be rescued again 4 days after being rescued the first time.
Goodness gracious.
So, okay, two things. If he doesn't know where his cell phone is, how did he call for help? That's a good question.
He called for help once he found it.
And the second thing, this was kind of a corny joke, I thought. So he's not like Jesus, because even when Jesus was 4 days late, he was still on time. This guy was 4 days later and still couldn't make it up the mountain.
Almost dead.
So
Too bad he didn't get any temptations. I bet he took those real quick once he got there.
So here's what people think of this man's decisions.
I think he's dumb.
Okay. They hear this story of this climber, and people are calling for them to press charges against him because he was so stupid to climb up there again 4 days after being airlifted off the mountain.
What would you charge him with? That's the question.
I don't know. I do think
Being stupid. There's your stupid law for the day. Don't climb up mountains twice if you didn't succeed the first time.
I guess, that would be a waste of, it's, you know how you get in trouble like if you call 911 too many times and it's a fake call?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you get him with.
I think it's stupid that he would even think to do that again. Oh,
just buy a new cell phone.
I heard
like you could get payment plans.
I heard a story. In fact, it's not a story. I know this to be true. There's a gentleman in a southern state that was building something for his house, and he was using a chop saw or a table saw. And at the time that he was cutting wood, he got one finger too close and he cut a finger off. Okay. And so he had to get that fixed or whatever.
I know exactly where
So after he healed up enough, he started working again, and he had somebody helping him. And the individual that was watching him said, "Hey, how'd you lose that finger?" And he said like this, and he cut a second one off.
I've heard this. Oh, I've heard this.
So sometimes common sense and smarts just fly out the window.
Dumb ways to die.
There's a saying that I use a lot.
Dumb ways to die.
The thing about common sense is it's not all that common anymore.
Yeah, sometimes it's not.
That's I don't know. That's crazy. But yeah, for the guy that climbed, I guess my thought is like if I almost died, I don't care that if I lost my cell phone. Like there's very few. I don't think there's really any possession that I own. Like besides now, if it's like my kids, but my kids would obviously be with me. I wouldn't leave my kids on top of a mountain. But like physical possession, cell phone, anything. There's nothing that I would risk my life for to go back up. Now, if I understand if he's trying to climb the mountain, right? And then you failed the first time. Train up again and go again. But if you're going back there just to look for possessions like a cell phone, you're an idiot. You're an idiot.
Because you can get a cell phone replaced and everything's saved to the cloud anymore. So if you have pictures or something that you had on there that you didn't want to lose, guess what? You can get it on the new phone.
And phones are so affordable now. Like, you don't have to go out and get the newest, greatest phone that there is. You can get affordable phone to replace that and then eventually do your upgrade or whatever.
They even have they have the payment plans and stuff. And probably you said that where's Mount Fuji at? Is it in Japan? You said I guarantee their things are more affordable than what they are in the States anyway. Generally.
I don't know.
I don't know what that would be.
I have no idea.
I generally just assume everything.
I barely understand the American economy, let alone the Japanese.
Yep. So that's our news story. If you try to climb the Mount Fuji and you get sick, don't climb up it again 4 days later.
I just think
that's how it goes. Before we're kind of getting close to the episode, and before we get to the full closing of it, there's something that happened this weekend that at the church, and Brother Carlos and Sister Regina has taken a position at a church. They're now pastoring Bethel Chapel in Richmond, Indiana, and Brother Brother Carlos has been one of my best friends for many, many years, worked with him for over 8 years. And so I know that they listen to the podcast every so often. And, we want to say that we're going to miss them at Sharonville, but we're definitely praying for them and we're happy for them. And, everybody that listens, say a prayer for them as they embark on this new version. I constantly read, everybody says that, we quote that scripture. It's kind of quickly quoted like this, that he places us, talking about God places us in the body, speaking of where we should be within the body of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
God places us in the body. And then they say rather quickly, as he sees fit. But if you read that scripture, it doesn't say it that way. It says he places us in the body as it pleases him.
Yeah.
Which means that as the ministry goes and as time goes on, we realize that, he places us in the body for reasons that we might not understand. Sometimes it's for our personal growth. Sometimes it's for the personal growth of the places that we're going.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's for both reasons. You get your personal growth and it's training as you work with this church or these individuals or wherever he places you. And then it's time to move you on to a church that is going to need you for a very specific time. And I believe that, the time that Brother Carlos and Sister Regina has been with Sharonville, it's kind of worked that way. It's been, they've grown, Sharonville's grown, and I'm saddened, not because of, them taking a church, but because I've enjoyed working hand in hand with them these 8 years. But I'm extremely excited to see what's going to happen down the road.
Big.
So
congratulations to them and prayers for them as they embark. I'm not a pastor, but I've been friends with a lot of pastors. My grandfather, who I was incredibly close to, is a pastor, and that duty and responsibility. And I know Brother Ryan can speak to this as being one of my very close friends. That the responsibility is great and vast. And I know Brother Carlos, Sister Regina. I've met them a couple times. They seem like great people. I think they're going to do a great work. We need their prayers. They need prayer. So, and we'll pray for Sharonville too, because anytime you lose something like that, it's a hard thing for a church too. So.
It is. But again, the ministry is also like this. We're all intertwined, So anytime anybody embarks, especially in this instance, they're not leaving in any bad way. They're not going. It's all been handled in such a tremendous way. And to say it like this, I've known that God has had this for Carlos for a long time. I knew he wasn't going to be at Sharonville permanently. The selfish part of me would say,
yeah,
the me being who I am, not wanting to see, a family that I've gotten so close to, with Brother Carlos, Sister Regina, and their children. Their children are like my own kids in a sense. It's just that's just how close we are. And so that selfish part of me wants to say, no, I don't think so. And I even told Carlos that, like, me, who I am, I want to say, you don't need to go there. We got plenty of work for you here. Don't get tied down with that. I'll but the individual that knows how the ministry works, the pastor side of me, and the confidence that I have in Brother Carlos and Sister Regina, and I have the utmost confidence in their prayers and in their burdens that they have. And I know that any decision that was made wasn't made lightly, and it wasn't made for a title. I know it was that way. So I understand I have to. It's quite literally the true meaning of bittersweet.
Yeah.
So
I think the scripture that you quoted was that God puts them in as fitly joint to the body, compacts it and allows it to grow, is the context that it talks about. I think it's funny that he uses the word joint because joints are forever growing, forever moving. And it just proves that, the joint is the section that makes things stronger. And that's what he's talking about is as we grow, we get courageous in the work that God's put us in. And there's a time of strengthening, and then there's a time that you move up and you just keep growing in the way that God has placed you. So I'm extremely excited for them. I was joking with him. It was October when we were still working on the house, trying to get things going, trying to tighten up some things. And I looked at him and I said, Carlos, So I've known him for a long time, not as long as you have, but I met him when I was a teenager, and I looked at him. I said, Carlos, I said 10 years ago when we met each other, he was still going to Victory at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I said, did you ever think you and me would be sitting in here in this house putting a floor into another church that neither one of us was attending at the time that we met each other? He looked at me with a dead face and he said, with you, no way. He was just joking with me, but it's crazy when you look at God's plan and how he pulls us into a place where he can work with us. And that's where we were at that point.
Yeah.
We were being worked with, growing into what God has for us. And I'm sad to see them go. I'm gonna miss their little kidlets being in our youth group, but I am overjoyed that they're not leaving for any bad reasons. There's no implication of bad things going on, and he's going because he's got a work that God's called him to do. And I'm glad to see the church as a whole grow on, and a congregation that's been without a pastor for a long time finally be able to have their shepherd.
Yeah. I'm very happy for the church. They couldn't get a better person. I know he's going to do some tremendous things, and we're behind Brother Carlos and Sister Gina 100%. They're just because they're not at Sharonville anymore doesn't mean that they're still not best friends, because they're going to be family forever.
And they're listeners to this podcast, and that's one of the things we want to do is not only just because they're friends, but we want to push ministries to carry on, no matter in this kind of time, whether you're taking a position or you're watching somebody leave to move on to a position. It's painful for all parties involved. You're leaving the people that you've been with for a while, moving into new territory that you may not necessarily know about. So I'm excited to hear the good news that he's moving on and taking on church.
Looking forward to what the Lord brings, that's for sure. So we love you guys.
Well, to bring it to a close here, there's a lot of things to be talked about, golden toilets being one of those. And if you get a chance, write in a letter and complain and let them know how much Brother Jonathan hates that this man got free, and how it is just governs to the whole meaning of the justice system. And, feel free to give a shout out to Brother Carlos and Sister Regina. Wish them, don't wish them. Send up the prayers that they deserve for the reinforcements from the Lord. And thanks for tuning in with us, guys. We'll see you next time.
See you, everybody.
See you next time.